What if the key to inner peace lies in principles the Stoics rarely discuss openly? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. These words, written centuries ago, still hold profound truth today. Stoicism, often misunderstood as a philosophy of cold detachment, is actually a treasure trove of wisdom for navigating the chaos of modern life. But beyond the well-known teachings of resilience and self-discipline, there are deeper, lesser-known lessons that can transform how we approach challenges, relationships, and even our own emotions. In this video, we'll uncover 20 must-know secrets the Stoics kept to themselves, lessons that can help you cultivate inner calm, clarity, and strength in a world that often feels overwhelming. Are you ready to discover what they knew that most of us are still learning? Let's begin. In a world of noise, silence is a Stoic superpower. Think about it. How often do we truly pause, step back, and let the chaos around us settle before responding? The Stoics understood that silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's a deliberate choice, a tool for self-reflection and emotional control. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "We should give our time to listening rather than speaking, for silence is a form of wisdom." This isn't about suppressing your voice or avoiding confrontation. It's about creating space to process, to understand, and to respond with intention rather than react out of impulse. Imagine this: you're in the middle of a heated argument with a loved one. Words are flying, emotions are high, and it feels like the conversation is spiraling out of control. Now picture choosing silence not as a sign of defeat, but as a moment of strength. By stepping back, you give yourself the chance to see the situation clearly, to understand the other person's perspective, and to respond in a way that de-escalates rather than inflames. Silence, in this context, becomes a bridge to resolution rather than a wall of misunderstanding. But silence isn't just useful in conflict, it's also a powerful tool for self-awareness. When we quiet the external noise, the notifications, the chatter, the endless demands, we create room to hear our own thoughts. This is where clarity emerges. It's in these moments of stillness that we can ask ourselves the hard questions. Why did that comment upset me? What am I truly afraid of? What do I really want? Silence then becomes a mirror, reflecting back the truths we often avoid in the busyness of daily life. So, when was the last time you chose silence over reaction? It's not always easy, especially in a culture that values quick comebacks and constant communication. But the Stoics remind us that silence is not weakness, it's a deliberate act of strength. It's a way to reclaim control over our emotions, to deepen our understanding of ourselves and others, and to navigate life's challenges with a sense of calm and purpose. In a world that never stops talking, perhaps the most revolutionary thing we can do is to simply pause, breathe, and listen. What if success isn't about winning, but about how you play the game? The Stoics had a radical perspective on this. They believed that true peace comes not from achieving specific outcomes, but from focusing entirely on the effort itself. This idea, known as amor fati, or the love of fate, teaches us to embrace whatever happens, not as a failure or a victory, but as an opportunity to grow. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, put it simply: some things are within our control and some things are not. The key, he argued, is to pour your energy into what you can control, your actions, your attitude, your effort, and let go of the rest. Consider the story of a professional athlete who, after years of chasing championships, finally embraced this Stoic principle. Instead of fixating on the scoreboard or the trophy, they shifted their focus to the process, the daily training, the mental discipline, the small improvements. When they lost, they didn't see it as a failure but as a chance to learn. When they won, they didn't let it define their worth. By detaching from the outcome, they found a deeper sense of fulfillment, not just in their sport but in life itself. This is the power of amor fati. It frees us from the roller coaster of external validation and anchors us in the present moment. But how does this apply to the rest of us? Think about your own goals, whether it's landing a promotion, building a business, or even improving a relationship. How often do we tie our happiness to the result, only to feel crushed when things don't go as planned? The Stoics remind us that life is unpredictable. No matter how hard we work, there will always be factors beyond our control. What we can control, however, is how we show up. Did you give it your best? Did you act with integrity? Did you learn something along the way? These are the questions that matter. So, what would happen if you shifted your focus from the outcome to the effort? Imagine approaching your next big project, not with anxiety about whether it will succeed, but with curiosity about what you'll discover in the process. Picture facing a setback not as a dead end, but as a detour leading you somewhere unexpected. This isn't about giving up on your goals, it's about redefining what success means. It's about finding joy in the journey, not just the destination. And in doing so, you might just find that the pressure lifts, the stress fades, and a new kind of freedom emerges. After all, isn't that what true success is all about? Stoics don't fear the worst, they prepare for it. This might sound counterintuitive in a world that often encourages us to focus on positivity and avoid dwelling on the negative. But the Stoics had a different approach, one that's both practical and profound, the art of negative visualization. This practice involves deliberately imagining worst-case scenarios, not to dwell on them, but to prepare the mind for adversity. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, put it this way: you have to accept whatever comes, and the only important thing is that you meet it with courage and the best of your ability. By visualizing the worst, we strip it of its power to shock or paralyze us, and in doing so, we build resilience. Take, for example, a modern-day entrepreneur facing the uncertainty of launching a new product. Instead of avoiding thoughts of failure, they use negative visualization to confront their fears head-on. What if the product flops? What if customers don't respond as hoped? By imagining these scenarios, they're able to plan for them, developing contingency strategies, refining their approach, and mentally preparing for setbacks. When challenges arise, they're not caught off guard, they're ready to adapt. This isn't pessimism, it's preparation, and in the process, they often discover something unexpected, a deeper appreciation for what they already have. By imagining loss, they cultivate gratitude for the present moment. But negative visualization isn't just for high-stakes situations. It's a tool we can all use in our daily lives. Think about a difficult conversation you've been avoiding. What's the worst that could happen? Maybe the other person reacts poorly, or the conversation doesn't go as planned. By visualizing this outcome, you can prepare your response, stay calm, and approach the situation with clarity rather than fear. The act of imagining the worst doesn't make it more likely to happen. It simply equips you to handle it if it does. So, what's one challenge you could face with more courage by visualizing it first? Whether it's a career setback, a personal conflict, or even a global crisis, negative visualization helps us confront our fears with a sense of control. It reminds us that while we can't always change what happens, we can always choose how we respond, and in that choice lies our greatest strength. The Stoics knew this well. By preparing for the worst, we not only build resilience but also uncover a deeper sense of gratitude for the life we're living right now. Isn't that a perspective worth embracing? How much of your stress comes from trying to control the uncontrollable? It's a question worth asking because so much of our mental energy is spent wrestling with things that are simply beyond our power. The Stoics had a clear way of navigating this, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, one of the most practical Stoic philosophers, put it plainly: some things are within our power while others are not. This simple yet profound idea is a cornerstone of Stoic wisdom, and it's as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Think about it. How often do we stress over things like traffic, the weather, or other people's opinions? These are external factors completely outside our control. Yet we pour so much energy into trying to change them, only to end up frustrated and exhausted. The Stoics remind us that the only thing we truly control is our own mind, our thoughts, our choices, and our responses. Everything else, it's not up to us. Take the example of a young professional who was constantly anxious about meeting their boss's expectations. No matter how hard they worked, they couldn't control their boss's mood or opinions. The stress was overwhelming until they stumbled upon the Stoic Dichotomy of Control. They realized that while they couldn't control their boss's reactions, they could control their own effort, attitude, and preparation. By shifting their focus inward, they found a sense of peace and confidence that no external judgment could shake. This principle applies to so many areas of life. Relationships, career, health, there's always an element of unpredictability. The Stoics didn't suggest we ignore these challenges or stop caring about them. Instead, they encouraged us to focus on what we can influence and let go of the rest. It's not about giving up, it's about redirecting our energy toward what truly matters. So, what's one thing you're trying to control that you should let go of? Maybe it's a situation at work, a family dynamic, or even a global event that feels overwhelming. The next time you catch yourself stressing over something outside your control, pause and ask, is this within my power? If not, what can I focus on instead? By embracing this Stoic mindset, you'll find that life becomes lighter, clearer, and far more manageable. After all, the illusion of control only holds power over us until we see it for what it truly is, an illusion. What if thinking about death could make your life richer? It might sound unsettling, but the Stoics believed that reflecting on our mortality is one of the most powerful tools for living a meaningful life. This practice, known as Memento Mori, Latin for remember you must die, isn't about dwelling on fear or despair. Instead, it's a reminder to live with intention, gratitude, and urgency. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, captured this idea beautifully when he wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." By keeping the inevitability of death in mind, we're prompted to focus on what truly matters and to let go of what doesn't. Consider the story of a young artist who felt stuck in a cycle of procrastination and self-doubt. They had big dreams but kept putting them off, waiting for the perfect moment to start. Then they stumbled upon the concept of Memento Mori. At first, it felt morbid, but as they began to reflect on the brevity of life, something shifted. They realized that waiting for the perfect moment was a luxury they might not have, so they started creating imperfectly, passionately, and without delay. Over time, their work not only improved but also became a source of deep fulfillment. By embracing the idea that life is finite, they found the courage to live more fully. This practice isn't just for artists or philosophers, it's for anyone who wants to live with greater purpose. Think about your own life. How often do you postpone the things that matter most, spending time with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or simply being present in the moment? Memento Mori reminds us that time is our most precious resource, and it's slipping away every second. It's not about living in fear of the end, but about using that awareness to fuel action and appreciation. So, what would you do differently if you truly embraced the idea of Memento Mori? Would you take that leap you've been hesitating on? Would you spend more time with the people who matter most? Or would you simply savor the small, everyday moments that often go unnoticed? The Stoics didn't see death as something to fear, but as a teacher, urging us to live with clarity and purpose. By remembering that our time is limited, we can stop wasting it on trivialities and start focusing on what brings us joy, meaning, and connection. After all, isn't that what a rich life is all about? What if true freedom comes from mastering your desires? The Stoics believed that our unchecked wants and cravings are often the root of our unhappiness. They saw desire not as something to indulge, but as something to discipline. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, put it this way: if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. In other words, our desires shape our perception of the world, and when they're misaligned with reason and virtue, they lead us astray. Picture this: you're scrolling through social media and suddenly you feel a pang of envy. Someone you know just bought a new car, went on an exotic vacation, or landed a promotion. That envy isn't about the car, the trip, or the job, it's about the desire you've attached to those things. The Stoics would argue that this kind of unchecked desire is a trap. It keeps us chasing external validation, always wanting more, and never feeling truly satisfied. But what if, instead of chasing these fleeting desires, we trained ourselves to want only what aligns with our values and principles? Consider the story of a young professional who felt overwhelmed by the constant pressure to keep up. They were working long hours, accumulating debt, and still feeling like they were falling behind. Then they discovered Stoicism and began practicing the discipline of desire. They started asking themselves, do I really need this? Does this align with who I want to be? Slowly, they began to simplify their life, cutting out unnecessary expenses, focusing on meaningful work, and spending more time with loved ones. Over time, they found that by letting go of the desire for status and material wealth, they gained something far more valuable: peace of mind. This isn't about rejecting all desires or living a life of deprivation. It's about choosing wisely. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from aligning our desires with virtue, things like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. When we do this, we stop being slaves to our impulses and start living with intention. We learn to appreciate what we have rather than constantly yearning for what we don't. So, what's one desire you could let go of to find greater peace? Maybe it's the need for approval, the craving for material possessions, or the endless pursuit of perfection. By examining our desires and aligning them with what truly matters, we can break free from the cycle of dissatisfaction and discover a deeper sense of fulfillment. The Stoics remind us that the key to happiness isn't in getting everything we want, it's in wanting only what truly aligns with our highest selves, and in that shift lies the path to true freedom. In a world of excess, Stoics choose moderation. This principle, known as temperance, is one of the 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism, and it's as relevant today as it was in ancient times. Temperance isn't about denying yourself pleasure or living a life of austerity. It's about finding balance, knowing when enough is enough, and avoiding the pitfalls of overindulgence. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In other words, true wealth isn't measured by what we have, but by our ability to resist the endless pursuit of more. Think about how this applies to modern life. We live in a world where excess is often celebrated, whether it's binge-watching shows, scrolling endlessly through social media, or accumulating material possessions. These habits might feel satisfying in the moment, but over time they can leave us feeling drained, distracted, and disconnected from what truly matters. The Stoics believed that temperance is the antidote to this cycle of overconsumption. By practicing moderation, we reclaim our time, energy, and focus, allowing us to live with greater intention and clarity. Take the story of a young professional who felt overwhelmed by the constant pull of technology. They were always online checking emails, scrolling through feeds, and responding to messages even during meals or time with family. It wasn't until they discovered Stoicism that they realized how much this excess was costing them. They decided to set boundaries: no phones during meals, designated times for checking emails, and a daily digital detox. At first, it felt uncomfortable, even isolating, but over time they noticed a shift. They were more present, more productive, and more connected to the people and activities that brought them joy. By practicing temperance, they found a sense of balance that had been missing for years. So, where in your life could you practice more moderation? Maybe it's cutting back on screen time, simplifying your schedule, or being more mindful about what you consume, whether it's food, media, or even information. The Stoics remind us that temperance isn't about restriction, it's about freedom. It's about freeing ourselves from the chains of excess so we can focus on what truly enriches our lives. By embracing moderation, we create space for what matters most: deep connections, meaningful work, and a sense of inner peace. And in that space, we find not just balance, but a life well lived. What if saying no to comfort could make you stronger? It's a question that might feel counterintuitive in a world that often equates happiness with ease and convenience. But the Stoics believed that voluntarily denying ourselves certain comforts is one of the most powerful ways to build resilience and deepen our appreciation for life's simple joys. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who endured slavery and hardship, put it this way: "Difficulties show what men are. Therefore, when a difficulty falls upon you, remember that God, like a trainer of wrestlers, has matched you with a rough young man." In other words, challenges, even self-imposed ones, are opportunities to grow stronger and more capable. Imagine this: you decide to give up something you rely on daily, like your morning coffee, your smartphone, or even your favorite comfort food. At first, it feels uncomfortable, maybe even frustrating, but over time, something shifts. You start to notice how much you took that comfort for granted. You become more resourceful, more patient, and more aware of the small pleasures you might have overlooked before. This is the essence of self-denial, not as a punishment, but as a practice in gratitude and resilience. By temporarily stepping away from what feels easy, we create space to appreciate what truly matters. Take the story of a young entrepreneur who decided to practice self-denial by giving up all non-essential spending for a month. No dining out, no online shopping, no entertainment subscriptions. At first, it felt restrictive, even isolating. But as the weeks went by, they began to notice something unexpected. They felt lighter, more focused, and more creative. Without the constant distractions of consumerism, they found themselves reconnecting with simple joys: cooking meals at home, reading books they'd neglected, and spending quality time with loved ones. By the end of the month, they didn't just save money, they gained a newfound sense of clarity and purpose. So, what's one comfort you could temporarily give up to build resilience? Maybe it's skipping that daily latte, taking a break from social media, or even sleeping without a pillow for a week. The goal isn't to make life harder for the sake of it, but to remind yourself that you're capable of more than you think. When we voluntarily step into discomfort, we prove to ourselves that we can handle challenges, not just the ones we choose, but the ones life inevitably throws our way. And in doing so, we cultivate a deeper appreciation for the abundance we already have. After all, isn't that what true strength is all about? What if every obstacle is a chance to become better? The Stoics had a unique way of looking at life's challenges. They saw them not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very things that seem to hold us back can actually propel us forward, if we choose to see them that way. This shift in perspective is one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit, transforming adversity into advantage and frustration into fuel for growth. Consider the story of a modern-day athlete who faced a career-threatening injury. At first, the setback felt devastating. They couldn't train, compete, or even move without pain. But instead of dwelling on what they'd lost, they decided to adopt a Stoic mindset. They began to see the injury not as an end, but as an opportunity, a chance to focus on mental training, study their sport from a new angle, and build resilience they never knew they had. When they finally returned to competition, they weren't just physically stronger, they were mentally tougher, more strategic, and more grateful for the opportunity to compete. The obstacle, in this case, truly became the way. This principle applies far beyond the world of sports. Think about a challenge you're facing right now, whether it's a difficult project at work, a strained relationship, or even a personal goal that feels out of reach. What if, instead of seeing it as a problem, you viewed it as a chance to grow? Maybe that tough project is an opportunity to develop new skills or prove your resilience. Perhaps that strained relationship is a chance to practice patience, empathy, and communication. Even failure, when reframed, can become a teacher, showing us what doesn't work and guiding us toward what does. So, how could you reframe a current challenge as an opportunity? Take a moment to think about it. What's one obstacle in your life that, with a shift in perspective, could become a stepping stone? The Stoics remind us that life's difficulties aren't here to break us, they're here to shape us. By choosing to see challenges as opportunities, we not only lighten the burden of adversity, but also unlock the potential for growth, strength, and transformation. After all, the way forward isn't around the obstacle, it's through it. And in that journey lies the chance to become better, stronger, and more resilient than ever before. What if just 10 minutes a day could change your life? The Stoics believed that daily reflection is one of the most powerful tools for cultivating self-awareness and growth. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, aware of this habit that's now mine, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by." This practice of evening reflection, known as examen, isn't just about reviewing the day. It's about learning from it, understanding our actions, and aligning ourselves more closely with our values. Imagine this: at the end of a long day, instead of scrolling through your phone or zoning out in front of the TV, you take 10 minutes to sit quietly with a journal. You ask yourself a few simple questions. What went well today? What could I have done better? Did I act in alignment with my principles? This isn't about self-criticism or dwelling on mistakes. It's about honest self-assessment and intentional growth. Over time, this small habit can lead to profound changes in how you think, act, and relate to the world around you. Take the story of a young professional who felt stuck in a cycle of stress and self-doubt. They were constantly busy but never felt like they were making progress. Then they started practicing evening reflection. At first, it felt awkward, even uncomfortable. But as they continued, they began to notice patterns, moments when they reacted out of fear instead of courage, times when they prioritized others' expectations over their own values. Slowly, they started making small changes, setting clearer boundaries, speaking up for themselves, and focusing on what truly mattered. Over time, this simple practice transformed not just their mindset, but their entire life. So, what's one thing you could reflect on daily to improve your life? Maybe it's how you handled a difficult conversation, how you spent your time, or even how you treated yourself. The Stoics remind us that self-awareness is the foundation of growth. By taking just a few minutes each day to look inward, we can uncover insights, make better choices, and live with greater intention. And in doing so, we might just find that those 10 minutes become the most valuable part of our day. After all, isn't it worth a little time to create a life that truly reflects who you are and who you want to become? As we come to the end of this journey through the 20 must-know Stoic secrets, it's worth taking a moment to reflect on how these timeless lessons can transform the way we navigate modern life. From the power of silence to the discipline of desire, from embracing obstacles to practicing daily reflection, the Stoics offer us a roadmap for living with clarity, resilience, and purpose. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're practical tools, tested by time and proven by countless lives. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most profound teachers, once said, "Philosophy is not a thing to be studied in a corner, but a way of life." And that's exactly what these lessons are, a way of life, a way of thinking, and a way of being that can help us thrive in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. Think about it, how many of the challenges we face today could be softened by a Stoic mindset? The stress of a demanding job, the frustration of a difficult relationship, the anxiety of an unpredictable future, these are all opportunities to apply the wisdom we've explored. By focusing on what we can control, embracing discomfort as a teacher, and finding strength in stillness, we can navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease and grace. The Stoics remind us that while we can't always change our circumstances, we can always change how we respond to them, and in that choice lies our greatest power. So, as we wrap up, here's a question to ponder. Which of these lessons will you start practicing today? Maybe it's choosing silence in moments of conflict or reframing an obstacle as an opportunity. Perhaps it's taking 10 minutes each evening to reflect on your day, or letting go of a desire that no longer serves you. Whatever it is, remember that small, consistent actions lead to lasting change. The Stoics didn't promise an easy life, but they did promise a meaningful one, and that's something we can all strive for. Before you go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which Stoic lesson resonated with you the most? How do you plan to apply it in your own life? Share your insights in the comments below. I read everyone. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more Stoic wisdom. Together, let's continue this journey toward a life of clarity, courage, and calm. After all, as the Stoics taught us, the greatest adventure isn't out there, it's within us. So, what's your next step?